The Blue Jackets have lost 3 games in a row, but I'm not worried yet. We're going to talk about why that is on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet, and if you win, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Been a couple of days since the last episode. Been a couple of days since that really annoying overtime loss to the Sharks. So maybe some of this is old news, but I had some technical difficulties. I was sick for a day, but now I'm back. And I want to talk about this loss and why it's not a big deal, but also why I can see some concerning trends. Or not trends, but I want to talk about this loss kind of as in a bigger picture type thing. The first thing is that, like, this loss in and of itself is not a big deal. It is, sure, it's frustrating, and I get that. And getting goalied by Vitek Vanacek of the San Jose Sharks, who previous to this game had, like, not played well. I think is now like 7-0 against the Blue Jackets specifically in his career, which is extremely funny. But he has 2 wins on the season before now. He just played last night against Minnesota, had an 867, was excellent against the Blue Jackets. Again, 49 saves on 50 shots. No one thought this was going to happen. Like, I had someone come into the YouTube comments to be like, well, this is what you get for saying that the goaltending in San Jose is bad. I'm like, show me someone who predicted that they were going to get this kind of performance out of Vanacek, and I'll show you a liar. By far and away his best performance this season. No one saw this coming. I think, again, back-to-back good performances. He was decent against LA, which was his other win of the season. Made 26 saves on 28 shots. Again, 50 saves, 49 saves. And he got an assist on the overtime winner. Like, no one saw this performance coming from Vanacek. Like, sometimes a goalie just has a game, and I feel like more often than not, a goalie just kind of has a game against Columbus. It's been happening like less this season. I think Columbus has really been lucking out in terms of getting goalies that are playing poorly at the time. Like, I'm looking at, for example, they took advantage of Alexander Georgiev, who was not playing very well at the time. They took advantage of when they played the Leafs. They took advantage of them starting Dennis Hildeby, who I think that was his, like, 3rd NHL start ever or whatever. They took advantage of Stuart Skinner against the Oilers. So, like, it was about time for the Blue Jackets to run into a goalie like this. Again, frustrating. I'm not worried about it. The Blue Jackets have kind of regressed a little bit in terms of their overall goals for per game. They continue to, they had it again. It was a rough weekend. They scored 4 goals and allowed 13, so in that instance, I'm going to say, not necessarily a bounce back performance in terms of they needed to get a win, but definitely a bounce back performance in terms of this team needed to look better than they did against Washington specifically. I thought they looked really poor against Washington. I thought they looked fine against the Jets, or, as fine as they're going to be against the Jets. So it was good to see them, again, bounce back a little bit. They've dropped to 12th overall in goals for per game. They're at 25th overall in goals against per game. Small sample sizes, but, and the penalty kill continued to improve as well. They killed off, I think, 4 all 4 of the Sharks penalties in this game. So, like, it wasn't necessarily like a get-right game, but it was kind of a step in the right direction, I think. It would have been really nice to get the win. And we'll talk about what happened in overtime in a minute here, because that was like my biggest issue with this game was that overtime goal, because what was anyone doing on that overtime goal? But I'm not worried. Like, I don't think people should be worried. Like, yes, they've lost 3 in a row, but they lost to the best team in the NHL. They played badly against Washington. That's the one that stings. They got goalied against San Jose. It's an out-of-division matchup. They got a point out of it. It's early in the season. It's fine. Would I have liked the 2 points out of this? Sure. But my goals on this for this game, which I did not state on the podcast, so as like not to jinx them, was don't embarrass me in front of my wife, who was at the game without me, which I thought was rude. But I was across the ocean at the time, so like I get it. She was at the game. I was like, listen, just don't embarrass me in front of my wife, and they didn't do that. I thought they held themselves pretty well. I thought, again, everyone was great. It wasn't like people weren't trying. It wasn't like they got unlucky. Vitek Vanacek sometimes has a game. And I'm going to keep going back to that. Like, the Blue Jackets got 50 shots on this guy who has a career save percentage of like 900, of like a 902. Like, before this game, he had a save percentage on the season of like an 875. He's got a career 905 save percentage. And again, like, rough game last night against Minnesota, but even with this 980 save percentage against the Blue Jackets, he still has an 898 on the season. So, like, again, sometimes it happens, like, I think a lot about that time the Blue Jackets got goalied by, I want to say it was maybe Scott Wedgwood or Michael Hutchinson, or it was someone who literally hadn't been in the NHL for like 2 seasons, partially because of injuries and partially just being in the AHL, but like he hadn't played in the NHL in 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. And the Blue Jackets faced him and they got goalied. It happens. It sucks, but it happens. It's not a big deal. I want to talk about some of the things that I liked in this game, because I thought, again, there was a lot of things that I did like. There were a lot of things that the Blue Jackets did right. So I want to talk about some of them and why, again, I'm not concerned about this loss specifically. Coming up in just a second here at Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about Prize Picks. What is Prize Picks? Well, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just got to pick more or less on at least 2 plays for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash, so you can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including places like California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, where you wouldn't normally get a chance to do things like this. Prize Picks is in these states. And it's got the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. So your lineup stay in play. Even if one of your players gets injured, PrizePicks is going to keep your lineup live, so you still have a chance to get in on some of that action. Puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes, and it now offers Venmo for even quicker and easier deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And they've got fun weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, which is each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to get even more value for your lineups. So download the app today, use code LOCKEDON NHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. Play your first $5 lineup and you're going to get $50 instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. I want to talk about, again, the Blue Jackets did lots of good things in this game. They were just super unlucky to, again, get super goalied. So there's a couple of guys that I want to talk about in this game. First of all, I want to talk about Damon Severson, who, since I have been overly, I wouldn't say overly critical, but I have been probably more critical of Damon Severson than I have of a handful of the other defensemen that are on this team. I thought Damon Severson was very, very good against the Sharks. Only played 22 minutes, but had 6 shots on goal. got an assist on Kirill Marchenko's game-tying goal that didn't quite force overtime, but the Sharks opened the scoring. The Blue Jackets answered that, and then it went to overtime. I don't know that I would consider that like forcing overtime, but a really great night for Damon Severson. Zach Werenski is listed here as being -2. He was on the ice for both of the Sharks goals, but he played 31 minutes in this game. Which probably is more of an indictment of like the Johnson Jiricek pairing, for example. I expect to see Jordan Harris back in the lineup as of tomorrow against the Ducks. Just because, like, do I think Jiricek played badly? No, but he only got 9 minutes all game. This was a real example of the Blue Jackets rode Werenski and Provorov hard in this game. Werenski 31-26, Provorov 29-16. Third place is Severson, who was at 22:02, Christensen at 16:43, Johnson at 11:11, and then Jiricek at 9:15. And I don't really understand why that is. It wasn't like they were getting shelled defensively. It wasn't like they desperately needed guys like Werenski to be in the lineup. I don't like. I would love to hear why exactly they decided. And like Werenski was playing well. I thought. Again, he had 3 shots on goal. 3 takeaways. Was kind of a possession monster. Unlucky that he was on the ice for both of those goals. And I want to talk about the overtime goal in a minute here before I forget. But like, this is some Pascal Vincent ass defensive deployment, and I am not worried about it, but I am wary of it. I don't understand why you need to play Werenski literally half the game. The game went 63 minutes and like 3 seconds or something like that. I can find this exact answer. 63 minutes, 11 seconds. And Werenski played 31 and a half of those. I don't understand it. Yeah, he was good. I don't know that he was like so much better than everyone else that he deserves to, again, play literally over triple the amount that David Jiricek played. In terms of forwards, again, Cole Sillinger continues to impress. He was, I believe, on the ice for the overtime winner, which is it's a rough look, I don't remember who, off the top of my head, who else was on the ice. I want to say it was Fantilli, maybe, or Chinikov. No, not Chinikov. But again, he continues to impress. I thought Danforth had a very good game. Again, 6 shots on goal. Played 17-15, which I want to say is a season high for him. He's been fun since coming back into the lineup. He's added a little bit of not energy necessarily. Oh, he is 2 seconds off his high. He played 17-17 against Edmonton, but still, for a guy that's averaging what, 15 minutes of ice time a night, 16:08 to play over a minute more than his average is pretty darn good, I think. But the thing is that no one really played badly. There are some guys, again, frustrated by that overtime goal because I don't know what anyone was doing on there. You're really going to get Alex Wennberg just kind of walk in and score with basically like unimpeded. I don't get it, but like, I don't really have too many issues with how many of the guys played, I'm still curious as to what Dean Everson thinks of Sean Kuraly, because Sean Kuraly was a guy that kind of in the offseason I had pegged as one of those guys that that Everson was just going to love. I didn't think he was going to be his Freddie Gaudreau necessarily, who, for people who tuned into the crossover that I did with Seth Chapal of Locked On Wild, talks about how much Everson loved Freddie Gaudreau and used him in basically every situation, regardless of his like skill or temperament. I did think that Sean Kuraly was going to get a bigger role this season than he is currently getting, which is so interesting to me. And I've kind of been paying attention to it for a little while. Again, I don't think Sean Kuraly was bad in this game, but he did get the second least ice time of anyone on the team. So again, I'm going to continue to monitor that because it is interesting to me. Because I don't think he's playing badly. He just is a very specific player for a very specific situation. I think it's interesting. I feel like I'm seeing him less on the penalty kill as well, and that was where he got a lot of his minutes the last couple of seasons. He played a lot of penalty kill time with guys like Fantilli playing on the penalty kill. I wonder if there's going to be kind of less Corrali and more Fantilli. We'll find out. And then obviously Kent Johnson played on the penalty kill before he got hurt. So I'll be interested to see that. Mikael Pucher, I feel like, was getting some penalty kill time as well, which is always fun. But like I said, like I don't really have any issue with how the guys played. Even Elvis, I thought, even Elvis. Someone on Twitter was like, Elvis was horrible. Elvis was fine. Elvis did not make 49 or 50 saves, but he was fine. I think he made what 25. Yeah, 25 saves on the night for a 926. Like, it's not his best performance of the season, but also it is so far from his worst. He's up to a 910 on the season now as well, GAA of 269. So, like, he keeps working. I'll be interested to see who starts against the Kings on... I keep thinking it's the Ducks that they're playing. Tomorrow night. It's not. They're playing the Kings tomorrow night and then the Ducks on Sunday night. We'll talk about the Kings later on. But I'll be interested to know which goalie starts for the Blue Jackets against the Kings. Elvis has made, I think, 4 straight starts now. No. He got 3 straight starts against Edmonton, New York, Winnipeg. They did Tarasov against Washington. Elvis got the start against San Jose. I'll be interested to see who they start against the Kings. Arguably, you want your better goalie to go against the Kings. The Kings are a really confusing team, which, again, like I was going to talk about them a little bit in this episode, but we might have to do a separate episode because the Kings make no sense to me or to anyone, really. But Elvis continues to improve. You know, again, like the Winnipeg game, he made 38 saves in that game and ended up with an 864 because they just got absolutely murdered on the shot clock. But coming off a shutout before that, 59 minutes and 30 seconds shutout against Edmonton before conceding on the power play. Like 3 out of the last 4 games of Elvis's season have been really quite good, So has he turned a corner? Maybe. We'll see. It's still very early in the game to talk about, is this the new look Elvis? But again, some promising early returns, I'm going to take another quick break. And then when we get back, I want to talk a little bit about this loss specifically and why we shouldn't be worried about the Blue Jackets just yet. That's coming up in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just put $5 on literally anything you want. Like, find the heaviest favorite you can. Like, bet on... I always go back to the Chiefs winning a game because I don't know anything about football, but I know that the Chiefs are good. And it seems like it's a safe bet to bet on them winning a game. So put $5 on that. If you win, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets, and you can spend those bonus bets on whatever you want. NFL, NHL, MLB, although the MLB's done now, so maybe don't put money on that. The NBA, like college sports, all of this, you can put money on them all at FanDuel. And it gives you everything you need to place live bets all in one place as well. So if you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, if you win your first $5 bet, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, I talked about it a little bit about like why I'm not worried about this loss specifically. And that's because this is the first, maybe the second loss of its kind for the Blue Jackets this season. I'm trying to think about games where they got goalied, and there are not a ton of them, for the most part, games that they've lost have been bad luck. They got outworked. They did a lot of the right things, but the goaltending on the Blue Jackets end was poor, I don't know, like maybe the second game against Minnesota, where I think they lost 3-1, and Phil Gustafsson made like 38 saves or something. Like that's the only other game that's really coming to mind for me right now, where I'm like, yeah, no, Blue Jackets got goalied. They have shown semi-consistently, I would say more than semi-consistently, really, that they can score goals in this league. They're kind of going through it right now. 5 goals in that. They've only scored 5 goals in their last 3 games. But I have faith that they'll figure it out. I think that this was a different way to lose, which like maybe that should concern some people. Is we've talked a lot this season about how the Blue Jackets are finding different ways to win. They are grinding out wins. They are taking advantage of goalies who are not playing up to their potential. They're playing rough and tough hockey. They're playing skilled hockey. They're grinding. They're winning in a bunch of different ways. They're also losing in a handful of different ways. I think this being the first real unexpected goalieing, shall we say, should reassure more than a handful of people. If this happens again against the Ducks, or if it happens against, let's pull up the standings to see who else is struggling. Like if they get goalied against the Penguins, for example, who they've kind of picked it up a little bit, but have been kind of struggling basically all season long with their goaltending. I'm just pulling up their goaltending stats. Why is their website so hard to pass? But in terms of goaltending, their starter right now is Alex Nedeljkovic, who's got an 883. If you get goalied by Tristan Jarry, who has been basically unplayable all season long, then maybe start to worry. But as of right now, I'm not sitting here hitting any kind of panic button. Again, if they continue to forget how to score goals, then maybe we panic later on. But I don't see this kind of thing happening again in any kind of soon, let's say. And maybe I'll have to end up eating my words about that, because one of the better goalies in the league right now is playing for the Ducks, who the Blue Jackets face on Sunday. But I'm not worried about this. I don't think you should be worried either. Just kind of the nebulous you that exist on the other side of the webcam, out on YouTube or wherever. It's fine. I don't does it suck to lose 3 in a row? Sure, but the Blue Jackets are kind of holding firm where they are. They're sitting at 500. They are pulling the standings up. They are 3 points out of a wild card spot right now. They have to jump Buffalo, Detroit, New York, and Boston to get there. All of these teams have more games in hand than the Blue Jackets. Boston specifically, they're in that second wild card spot right now, and they have 3 games in hand over the Blue Jackets. They're 7-7-1. Blue Jackets are 5-5-2. It's fine. Again, I'm not really going to start panicking or worrying or anything until we start getting to probably a couple of weeks from now. Again, American Thanksgiving rolls around. We'll see what's happening then. If the Blue Jackets are way out of a playoff spot, then we'll start to maybe worry a little bit then. But as of right now, again, frustrating loss, stupid loss is what it is. If we come back and we talk, I'm going to do another episode because I'm kind of running a little bit long here. I'll do another episode to go out tomorrow about tonight's game against the Kings. We'll probably talk a little bit about the Ducks as well, back to back. If we continue to have this conversation, if they, knock on wood, they lose 4 in a row, 5 in a row, and they still don't seem to know how to score goals, then maybe we'll come back and we'll revisit this conversation. But as of right now, I'm not it's probably fine. Again, they're kind of playing with house money for me. So maybe just my standards are so low with this team that a 3-game losing streak is kind of is nothing. But we'll see how it goes. That's kind of all I've got for today. Like I said, I'm going to do another episode tomorrow. I was going to see if I could fit it into this episode, but I don't think I can. We'll talk a little bit about the Kings, who are maybe the weirdest team in the NHL right now. We'll talk about the Ducks a little bit, who are probably going to be an equally frustrating game against them on tomorrow's episode. Thank you for listening to this episode, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms, over on YouTube and on SiriusXM. And you can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, at least while Twitter still exists. I suspect it's probably on the way out. However, until then, you can find me there at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. And thank you once again for listening. Until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.